Okay, see, this is kind of fun. It's been almost 4 years since I did this video, and a lot of things has happened since then. Um, but one of the things I noticed was that some of my old videos, I got a lot of comments on them, and the funny thing is that, especially about this one, um, people were asking for an English version of it, and there's some. I was amazed. Some comments where people actually mentioned that they get some useful information out of this, despite this being in Danish, and I'm actually a little bit shocked that non-Northern Europeans would be able to decipher anything in Danish, but great. Um, yeah, a lot of things happened since back then. A lot of things changed in terms of what I do for a living and things like that. Um, but I've sort of been keeping an eye on this, and I promised that I would get back to it, and I would do an English speaking version of this. And obviously, what I'm talking about is this matchmoving in Adobe AfterEffects, and then transferring that information to Maya and doing some rendering, and then back to After Effects. Traditionally, I would do this in Nuke, but Nuke is, as you know, an expensive program, and it's also not as widely used as something like After Effects, and After Effects has a decent camera tracker these days, and with the My Live link, you can actually do some nice things here. So I'll kick this off, and starting with this, the footage I was using in this original video was some old footage from back in the, actually I think it was called My Live, the Maya matchmoving solution built into Maya many years ago, many versions ago. It may actually have been during the Alias Wavefront time, I think, maybe. I'll show you this footage briefly. There's some things about this footage that is actually kind of interesting in respect to After Effects. Let's pop into After Effects here. So here I have the footage, and this footage is shot in old ntsc. Let's see if we do it like this, and maybe just one view. And ntsc was one of the video standards back before we got HD standards. And this video standard is like 50 plus, 60 years old, and that means it comes back from the analog age. So there's a lot of things here that we have to be aware of. But actually, this footage is what is in terms of Maya is what's called digital ntsc, which is the thing with this footage is that that pixels are not square, and that gives us a whole host of issues. I don't think I actually covered this in the original video, but I'll just talk a little bit about it here. So the thing is that yeah, that this this footage is actually not square pixels, Right now it's set to square pixels, and that's not the case because ntsc digital standard is not square pixels. Maya will claim it's 0.9 aspect ratio, and After Effects will say 0.91, which is just another problem with this sort of thing. But if we go to the interpret footage setting for After Effects, and there's this other options, pixel aspect ratio, and this is one of the places where After Effects is a little restricted. You only have these presets to work with, and most of the time they will work just fine, and especially these days where you would typically work with square pixels, and I'll in the next video I'll pop over to square pixels only because it's just I'm saving you a lot of headaches. But in this case, this is digital ntsc, and this is what After Effects will say is 0.91 aspect. If it was PAL, the video format used in Europe, etc., it would be 1.09, and this is referring to the aspect ratio of the pixel. So that means that one dot is not actually square. It's like more like a brick that is elongated in one or the other direction. And this has been used for saving data space, especially if you take something like the DVC Pro or HDV formats, Sony and Panasonic, if I remember correctly. And this means that you actually have pixels that are wider than one dot or than a square dot. So that way you save data on each frame. And that's fine. I mean, you probably won't see it anyway, especially if it's fast moving footage. And this is a thing that has been used for many years in cinema as well, where we had something like anamorphic film, where you were shooting this on a 35mm standard film, and it was shot with an anamorphic lens. So it was like a lens that would squeeze a wider image into a smaller frame, and then when you projected it, you would have a similar lens on the other end that would spread it out again. So that way you maximize the usage of the film area, and gave you a better quality for the film you had. The other option was to do letterboxing, where you just only used a little bit of the film in the middle, but you had like a 1:1 aspect ratio. So in a sense, anamorphic in the film world was something that optimized quality, and in the digital world it was used as a way to save space at the cost of a bit of quality. There you go. Anyway, this clip is ntsc, and as I click that, you can see it. Everything goes nuts over here. It gets wider because I have the aspect ratio compensation on, and the tracker goes, oh, I need to retrack everything, and so forth. So now it will retrack, and it'll do its thing. I'm not sure how long this will take it. It's not really important. But I'll just show you a thing or two when we get to that. This is the aspect ratio button, by the way, that will correct for any non-square. I'll just do a small pause while this goes on. Oh, yeah, obviously I should read the error message. It says it has to match the composition. And that's the thing here, the composition does not match, so I'll just get rid of this composition. Just go get rid of it. Yep, and I'll oh, that's something for in a second. There you go. So now this one I haven't made any match moving on, and you can see this sort of shows you what happens in the ntsc world. So it squeezes it a little bit, but it actually just means it gets a little higher in a way. If this had been an ntsc video, it would have started out narrow and then would have been extended. So it's sort of like the opposite thing that's going on there. Yeah. But if I match move this, it will try to keep everything and make sense of it. But one of the things that I've sort of because the documentation is not really, at least I haven't been able to find a good documentation on this. It seems like it is it's not 100% on how the aspect ratio of the camera in Maya works when we have a non square pixel space. So yeah, anyway, we'll just pause this while it's thinking, and I'll just one thing I'll do is I'll put it on detailed analysis, because that gives me many more points, and then I'll show you a little thing. Solving the camera is what's going on right now, and that should be done in a few seconds. There we go. So the camera has been solved, and what you see, these two funny markers there, I'm not really sure what they're about, but you can see that there's a few buttons or points here at the ground level, and I can scrub back and forth. So that is sort of nice. And there's some additions since I did this last. Anyway, I'll just draw an area around the like ground points here, something like this. And you can see it'll try to give me a representation of where the ground plane is. This looks pretty nice. So I'll do two things, and this is new since last. I'll do the set ground plane and origin. This is a new thing, very similar to what we had in Nuke. So this will sort of like put this reference down here, that this should be like the ground plane, and that this should be the origin. And then while the same thing is still selected, I will create a shadow catcher, camera, and light. It's just giving me the whole thing. And the result here is that I will get, should probably pop this over to 2. There. So this will give me a camera moving around. Something like that. And that would enable me to put other things in there. And one thing I would do in this scene was probably to like grab a couple of points up here on the ridge, like so, and then right click and then go create 29 nulls. And the thing is that this will create a bunch of reference points up here that I would be able to use afterwards. So if I select them here in my 3D view, like something like this, you can see I'll get all these nulls, and you can see I get the ground plane here, and that gives me a good idea of it looks a little wonky. Oh, maybe it's because it's not updating exactly right. It's lagging a little bit. But especially these points up here at the end gives me these gives me when I would export this to Maya, this would give me a bunch of locators that I could use to sort of get an idea of where this ridge is in 3D space, depth wise, etc. Okay, so Maya, open Maya. Maya's open, and I'll go to the window, and in general editors I'll go to the Adobe AfterEffects live link view. So I get this thing. Let's go like waiting for connection. Yeah. So I go to After Effects, and it should be in extensions. You should have the My Live link. If you don't have this in extensions, you should be able to get it in the extensions. I'll just open it here, and then I'll get to that in a second. So this should set up. See, it has the connection. And if you don't have that, you should be able to get it up in, oh my god, can I find this? Here, exchangeadobe.com, and we have this Maya live link, and you can get this for free if you're logged in and things like that. Good. Now this is set up, and what I'll do is I'll go to, this is actually a little not too well explained, so I'll just do it both places like this, and then I'll click here, and it should update and say sand. So that means that in Maya it's the scene called Untitled, and in After Effects it's the composition called sand that is linked. And then I'll select all of my objects over here, and I'll drag them in here, and let go. And I hope that did it. Go to Maya, and not a thing happened. I've had this before, and of course I tested this before, and everything was fine, and then now it doesn't work. So we'll just a second, we'll just make sure nothing is selected. Select everything, and then drag it in here again, and I think it worked now. No? Okay, I'll pause the video and then just save and reopen and see what. Okay, so what I did was I closed down Maya, I closed down After Effects, I reloaded Maya, I started the Maya live link video or window, I opened After Effects, and I started the live link window here as well. And I'm taking this, and it should be that scene. Then I'm going to grab everything in here again and drag it in here, and now something happens. Yeah, okay, so if it doesn't work, close your stuff, restart it. So now hopefully, yeah, over here a lot of things has happened. So we have this camera, and this is I think it's like 500 frames long, 341 actually, if I remember correctly. I've done this thing far too many times. Okay, so it looks like this, and you can see I have this string of locators out here, because that is like the ridge. It actually looks like it made something wonky about the, no, actually it's fine. Yeah, okay. And we have the shadow catcher, and it's usually way too small. Like, come on, there. And then if we go to my camera, and we can see it looks kind of nice. When you do this in Maya, you need to go to the, oh, not my shader tab. No, not this. Go away. To the render settings, and I need to match this up. So in Maya, this type of footage, which is actually made for Maya back in the day, was what's called CCIR601 Quantel ntsc, and you see that Maya says the aspect ratio should be 0.91 or 0.9, and that would create a device aspect ratio of 1.33, which was 43, which is the old TV standard. Everything is fine. After Effects doesn't understand this for some reason, I don't know. Renderable camera, I would use the newly added track camera, and that's fine. Now on this camera I would add this sequence as an image plane. So I'll go down to environment. I can also do it up here somewhere and go create, and you can see it creates this box, and I'll go image name, and then I need to find my matchmoving sand frame. Oh, this is big. It's because I'm running scaled down from my device is usually running at 4K, so, or UHD, because 4K is actually 4K and UHD is 4 times HD. Okay, yes, and I'll get this, and this is just one frame. This is stuck in space and everything is yeah. So I'll go use image sequence, and I'll get this, and this looks pretty good. The only thing is, as if you actually saw the first video, you'll know that there's a little discrepancy. This image sequence starts at 1, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it starts as 1. And if I go to my frames, open this in, take this in the dope sheet, and I'll just zoom in. You can see that starts at frame 0, and that's because After Effects has this idea that everything should start at 0 no matter what the frame says. So to make everything match up, I just need to make sure that I got all the frames selected, zoom in, and then just pop them over one frame. Then everything should match up. And that looks pretty good, and you can see I have this set of locators out here that tells me where the distance is. But there's actually a few things that are not working exactly correctly. The aspect of the camera here, the angle of view and focal length, is a bit wonky. Come on, just After Effects is sort of like funky sometimes. Come, let go. Let me click something else. No, not that. There we go. No. Then I can do. Can I do this? No. Yes, maybe. Oh my god. It's kind of weird. There we go. Finally. So now I just have the whole thing open. There we go. And if I double click this camera, you can see that it says the focal length is 35.33 and the angle of view is 54. And in Maya it says 58 and nothing fits. But it sort of works, but then again you can see that the locators in the distance, if I choose this one in particular, for instance, it will slide, and you can see that it slides in respect to this spike here, because something is wrong. And I tried different things. So let's see, let's go angle view and find this camera here. Thankfully this is not animated, so I can just go 5R. There we go. And then see. And this actually sort of locks it down pretty well. So yeah, I guess that that could be the way to go. If I set it to 35.33, it will go completely bonkers. So I go there. No, actually it might work. There we go. Now you can see it wobbles a little bit, but no, it's actually pretty good. So you have to pay attention to this angle view, at least when you have anamorphic footage. And that's why I'm actually going to move on to another clip. And I'll show you that in the next video. But that clip will be this thing here. And this is a really beautiful piece of footage, which I found some years ago on Vimeo, from a video that was a sequence of drone shots from Provence, and it's, I mean, it's just beautiful. And in that video alone, there's like 3 or 4 nice shots like this that you can extract. And I'll just find that video here, which is this one. I'll put the link below. But this it's just really beautiful, and there's a lot of nice shots, and you can just if you're logged in, you can download the video, and then using After Effects or whatever, you can extract the footage. I mean, this, wow, it's just beautiful. And here you have the shot that I'm going to use in the next video. Yeah, it absolutely Roger Meter, beautiful stuff. Yeah, have to say. So I'm borrowing this actually this clip for the next Matchmove experience. So yeah, that's it for this one. I thought it would be 10 minutes, and here we go, half an hour again. And I'll do another video where we'll actually Matchmove a square pixel thing based on this Vimeo thing. But yeah, almost 4 years. Time goes, time flies. Yeah.